All my life, I have always been taught to be humble and appreciative. My parents raised me to be well aware of the privileges that I have and utilize them for the greater good. I also value the life that I have and the status of my life. I do not use it for my good, especially using my influences to get everything that I want that might be unfair to those people that don't have the privileges that I do. Hence, since I was young, I have always dedicated myself to charity work and devoted myself to my advocacy, which is helping people, especially youth from poverty. With that, on my 15th birthday, I told my parents that I will be starting a non governmental and non profit organization to extend help to those people in need. I was able to manage my time and schedule both in academics and my humanitarian work. On top of that, I was also able to travel around the world to do philanthropic deeds. Both of my parents are politicians and business moguls. My father's family line is all politicians and lawyers, while my mother was influenced by my father to enter public service because she also had the heart of a philanthropist. All the while, they are busy with public engagements. I happen to live behind the limelight. I don't want to be associated with the status and influence that both my parents possessed. I often don't disclose my real name to people for privacy's sake. I don't want people to stir controversy or spread rumors concerning my work and my parents' profession. I just want to have my individuality and grow in life according to my terms. So, as soon as I graduated college, I focused my attention on my organizational work. I stayed on a remote island to help the people that rely on my foundation. I lived with them, I became one with the locals, and I interacted as if I was born there. I teach them some livelihood businesses and basic literacy and provide medical and dental access. I stayed there for almost 3 years. I learned how to value life as little as it can offer, and I admit that it was very far from what I experienced growing up. But life was not that hard there because everyone was happy and content. During my stay there, I was able to meet different philanthropists as well. They would connect with me and offer a partnership. Some are politicians, doctors, and teachers that wanted to extend their help, and this is where I met the love of my life, Will. He was a fresh graduate from medical school and he had just recently passed the licensure exam at that time. He went to the island to do a medical mission. It was the first time I met him. I could still remember how passionate he was about the things he does. He checked the health of every resident and even offered free consultations and medications. They stayed on the island for 3 months. I never knew that it would also be the best 3 months of my life. He began to notice me during his first day of the post. He thought of me as one of the locals, and I was flattered when he told me that because I want to be seen as someone that is a grassroots resident of the area. But I became honest with him immediately and told him I am the daughter of two politicians and business owners. I even told him that I just want to live a simple life away from the clamor of my parents' careers. I don't want to be associated and identified with their influences and power. I just want to live a harmonious life. And I don't want to be known as a daughter of politicians because I don't want people to see me as higher than them. I just want to be normal. And I was so happy because Will respected that. And he was so shocked to know what I was doing here. Then I told him about my project, my foundation, and my advocacies. He became so invested in my work that he even decided to stay longer on the island. A year has passed and our bond grew strong. We were the best mates, we worked together as a team, and we spent most of our time doing humanitarian work until we realized that we loved each other. He courted me, and for not so long we became a couple. Everyone on the island supported us and cheered for our relationship. They even want us to get married already. We were so happy together on the island until a day came when one of Will's friends came to the island to visit him. It was Mia, his childhood best friend. She was beautiful and you could see that she is perfect. I heard that both of them are pretty close. They grew up in the same village and their parents are business partners. Ever since Mia got here, she was snobbish to me. She kept on rolling her eyes at me and she even talked blandly to me. And Will introduced me to her as his girlfriend, but she doesn't respect it because she kept on clinging to Will and flirting with him. I get it, they're close, but doesn't she know how to respect boundaries? I try to understand her because perhaps that's how they bonded together, but one night as I was washing the dishes, I heard her talking to someone on the phone. She was standing outside the dirty kitchen because it is where the signal is good. I couldn't believe Will fell in love with a local here. I stopped washing the dishes and listened carefully to what she was saying. Yeah, she is your typical poor island girl. I mean, she has the looks, but imagines Will bringing her over to the city and letting her hang out with us. Oh my god, that is so not going to happen, please. She's a lowborn. Compared to us, she's nothing but dirt on the ground. She even laughed and mocked me even more. We all know that I'm the one for Will. We were born in the same world. Both our families knew each other and they even agreed on marrying us both. I just don't get what Will doesn't like me. I'm beautiful, sexy, and smart. I have everything while that island girl has nothing. Like even money she doesn't even have. I could feel my heart breaking. I couldn't believe that there are people like this in the world. I want me and Will to end up together. I love him so much. I know Will's parents will choose me over her. My eyes almost gagged out as I was in shock. This is not real. I composed myself and tried to finish what I'm doing. After that, I went immediately to my small hut and I was surprised that Will was not there, and some people told me that he was going to sleep in the villa that Mia rented. I didn't know what to feel that night and I just slept through the heartache. The next day, I was at the livelihood center. I tried my best to look fine as I was talking about finances with the chieftain of the island. When Mia and Will suddenly came, Will immediately hugged and kissed me while Mia was rolling her eyes out of disgust. I was busy calculating the funds when Mia insulted me out of the blue. Oh, Jessica, don't you worry your pretty little head about finances. I know times are tough when you're poor. My eyes widened with shock and hurt. Will was mad about her sudden insult.
Mia, that's enough. You don't get to insult my wife like that.
She just laughed at Will's remark. Oh, Will, can't you take a joke? Besides, I'm just trying to have a little fun. I took a deep breath, struggling to contain my emotions. I stood up, determined to confront her. Mia, your idea of fun seems to involve demeaning and disrespecting me. I won't tolerate it any longer. She just smirked at me, clearly enjoying the situation. Oh, Jessica, sweetie, you should learn to loosen up. Will deserves someone who can provide for him. Someone on his level, and besides, you'll hear more of it once you enter his world pretty soon. Will slammed his hands on the table and it shocked us both. He was so angry at Mia, but my eyes flashed with determination. I walked up to Mia, staring her down. Mia, let's get one thing straight. My worth is not defined by material possessions or societal status, but I have something you will never possess: integrity and genuine love for Will. Mia's smirk faded, replaced by a hint of frustration. Well, maybe Will needs someone who can give him more than just love, someone who can show him a life of luxury and success. Will was so conflicted and stepped between the two of us.
Mia, you have crossed a line. Jessica is my girlfriend and my soon-to-be wife, and she has given me more happiness and support than I ever thought possible. Material wealth means nothing if it's built on shallow intentions.
Mia, realizing her flirtatious behavior has backfired, tried to regain control. Well, I hope you know what you're giving up, Will, but mark my words, Jessica, you won't be able to provide for him the way I could, or you're just after his money. I looked directly into Mia's eyes. Mia, It's clear to me now that your version of providing comes at the cost of love, loyalty, and respect. And I'm not after his money. I may not have your material wealth, but I have something far more valuable, a genuine connection with my boyfriend, and yes, my soon to be husband. Will took my hand, offering his support and love.
And that, Mia, is what truly matters in the end. You can keep your empty promises and shallow desires. We're choosing love and happiness.
Mia, feeling defeated, storms out of our livelihood hall. Will and I embraced each other, united against negativity and manipulation. Will brought me back to the city and we eloped. We announced our marriage to our parents after our secret wedding. My parents were happy for me and I asked them to treat our marriage privately. Then Will decided to let me stay in his house with his parents. They were good to me at first, but everything changed immediately. From the moment I became part of Will's life, I sensed the disapproval that emanated from his parents, Rita and George. They looked down upon me, deeming me unworthy of their son's affections. In their eyes, I was just a girl from a humble background, lacking the sophistication and refinement they expected. They never missed an opportunity to remind me of their disdain, making it abundantly clear that they wished for Will to find someone more suitable, someone who could seamlessly blend into their high society circles, and I knew very well that it is Mia they liked for him. They would insult me every time they could. They would spit insulting words in front of my face, such as poor and tasteless. I could still remember that one night when my in-laws insulted me over dinner. "Oh, Jessica dear, you simply lack the refinement we expect. It's a shame you can't elevate yourself to our level." I almost spit out the food I was munching when Rita blurted it out of the blue.
Yes, Jessica, it's becoming quite clear that you're not the right match for our son. He deserves someone more suitable, someone who understands his world.
My gaze dropped, my heart heavy with their cutting words, but I remained silent as my eyes focused on the tablecloth. "Oh, what's the matter, Jessica? Cat got your tongue? I suppose it's only natural for someone of your background to be speechless in the face of elegance and sophistication." I remained silent because I know my worth more than they do. And besides, everything they are saying is true. Rita just smirked at me, relishing the discomfort she perceives in me. "You know, Jessica, it takes more than just fancy clothes to fit in with our social circle. You lack that certain je ne sais quoi." George chuckled, joining in on the mockery.
Indeed, my wife is right. It's a shame you can't appreciate the finer things in life. Perhaps it's time you realize your limitations.
My hands grip the edge of the table, my knuckles turning white. I fight back tears, my voice steady and low. "Rita, George, your words are hurtful, but I chose to rise above them. My worth is not defined by your opinions or material possessions. I stand here today a testament to resilience and inner strength." Rita and George exchanged a condescending glance, amused by Jessica's response. "Resilience, dear? That won't get you far in the world we come from. You will always be an outsider, forever trying to fit into a place you don't belong." George leaned closer, his voice dripping with derision.
You're deluding yourself, Jessica. It's time you face the truth. You're simply not cut out for our lifestyle. Your presence only tarnishes our family's image.
My eyes welled up with tears, but I refused to let them fall. I mastered every ounce of strength within me and remained silent, my gaze fixed on the tablecloth. What breaks me the most is that my husband couldn't even defend me. "Oh, look at her, George. She can't even defend herself. Pathetic." My silence became a powerful statement, a testament to my unyielding spirit. My silence speaks louder than your words. I chose not to engage in a battle that seeks to diminish me. My strength lies in knowing my worth, regardless of your approval. Rita and George exchanged uncertain glances, momentarily taken aback by my resolute silence, but then burst out a huge mocking laugh. Well, if that's how you want to play it, Jessica, but don't expect us to change our minds about you. George nodded in agreement, his expressions a mix of arrogance and disbelief. I raised my head, my eyes filled with a quiet determination. I don't seek your validation, Rita, George. I'm secure in who I am and the love I share with your son. The strength of our bond cannot be overshadowed by your prejudices. With that, I turned and walked away from the table, leaving Rita, George, and even my unbothered husband momentarily silenced, their words left hanging in the air. Their cutting remarks and subtle snubs wore on my spirit, but I refused to let their prejudice define me. I was determined to prove them wrong, to show them that love and character transcended wealth and pedigree. One fateful evening, Rita and George devised a plan to host an extravagant family dinner at an opulent restaurant, meticulously chosen to exemplify their elevated social status. It was a calculated move, one intended to further exclude me and solidify their belief that I did not belong in their refined world. The mere thought of being intentionally left out as they paraded the woman they preferred for Will fueled a blazing fire within me. But as fate would have it, I held a secret that would turn the tables in my favor, a secret that Will only knew, my true background. Unbeknownst to Rita and George, I am not just a daughter of a politician. It happens that the restaurant that they are going to have a party is owned by my family. I was the owner of the very restaurant they had chosen for their ostentatious gathering because I have shares in the profit. I heard that every socialite was there and that even Mia was invited and she was sitting next to my husband. I have eyes inside the restaurant and they're all working for me. The revelation presented an opportunity for retribution that I couldn't resist. I swiftly contacted the staff, instructing them to triple the bill for Rita, George, their all-time favorite Mia, and all their guests. Revenge would be served on a silver platter, garnished with poetic justice. It's time for me to show them what I can. This will be the first time that I will use my influence and power. As the evening unfolded, and the unsuspecting people savored their meals, a sense of unease settled over them. Their conversation grew more strained, their laughter forced, for they had no inkling of the financial reckoning awaiting them. The staff, complicit in my scheme, skillfully executed their part, ensuring that the bill they received was an extravagant testament to their arrogance. With calculated timing, I made my grand entrance, my mere presence commanding attention and piquing curiosity from every corner of the restaurant. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation as I approached the table where Rita, George, and Mia sat, their expressions a cocktail of confusion and apprehension. Even my husband was so shocked to see me. George tried to stop me from going near them. "Don't touch me, or else I will have you kicked out of this establishment."
Who do you think you are?
I gave him a serious and deadly look. "I own this restaurant." He just laughed at me. He didn't believe what I said. I even saw Mia laughing along with him while holding my husband's arms. Will saw me and he immediately walked towards me.
Please, don't cause a scene here, love.
"Really? I have to defend myself in front of them because you didn't have the spine to do it for me." He backed down and I could sense that he was embarrassed about it. It's the truth. Are you Jessica Stewart? The daughter of the governess and Senator Stewart?" The guests mumbled and started whispering to each other as they stared at me. "Oh, please. She's from a remote island. She is not that girl. Just look at her." "You're right. I could still remember you dancing with your father at that luxurious ball the last time I heard you were on a remote island doing your philanthropic work." Rita and George gasped in shock. One guest even showed them a picture of me with my father and mother. At that moment, I revealed to them who I am, the sole child of Governess and Senator Stewart. And I also unleashed the truth that they had so desperately tried to conceal. I revealed their contentious behavior, their relentless campaign to undermine me and my marriage to Will. I painted a vivid picture of their encouragement for Will to stray with Mia, the very woman they had brazenly brought as his wife to the dinner. Their faces transformed, their cheeks blanched with a mixture of shock and shame. The room fell into a hushed silence, the clinking of cutlery momentarily suspended. All eyes were fixed upon the scene unfolding before them, a spectacle of revelation and redemption. With unwavering confidence, I spoke my truth, my voice echoing through the grand hall. I made it known that their wealth and societal standing did not grant them the right to belittle or marginalize me. I reminded them that true class was not measured by material possessions but by the integrity and compassion one carried within. Their insults, their attempts to break me, had only served to strengthen my resolve. In that pivotal moment, I declared my intention to maintain my dignity irrespective of their opinions. I proclaimed that their tears of regret, their remorseful cries, would forever be the taste of bitter vindication. The power dynamic had shifted, and the inescapable truth now loomed over them, stripping away their illusion of superiority. As I walked away, a renewed sense of self-worth enveloped me. Their regret served as a potent reminder that I was not defined by their acceptance or approval. I was Jessica, a woman of substance, resilience, and unwavering determination. I had risen above their prejudiced judgments and would continue to flourish in the richness of my success and self-confidence. And so, as the echoes of their regret reverberated through the restaurant, I embraced my independence, forging my path with the knowledge that I had shattered their illusions, leaving them to grapple with the consequences of their actions. Their tears would forever serve as a bittersweet testament to the power of resilience, proving that sometimes the taste of regret can be the most satisfying dish of all. I divorced my husband. It turns out that his love was not ready to fight me. I continued my philanthropic work, and there I found peace, true happiness, and genuine love with the people. My name is Emily, and I was just a regular mom, 46 years old, trying her best to raise my two boys, Jack and Sam. After my divorce in my 30s, I worked odd jobs. I have a morning job as a hairdresser, and then I took night shifts at a factory just to give my boys a good life. Their dad had this terrible drinking problem and could get violent, so I decided to leave him to protect my little ones. However, as a high school graduate, I never had much choice. Still, I tried to get it together for my family. It's not like I didn't want to go to college, I just never managed to afford it. I was working hard so that I could give my boys what I didn't have when I was their age. Jack's my oldest, and he's always been a bit of a neat freak. I mean, he's good at studies and all that, but he's got this thing about cleanliness. He's always calling my hands dirty because of my factory job. He would come at me for wearing fraying sweatshirts, worn out jeans, and sneakers with holes, but I was doing the best I could, working from dawn till dusk. Sam, my younger one, has always been affectionate and considerate one in our family. From the time he was little, he had this tender heart that melted mine. Unlike his older brother Jack, Sam never hesitated to show his love and care for me. When he was a child, Sam would always hold my hand when we walked together, and he would give me big, warm hugs just because he felt like it. He had this way of looking at me with those gentle eyes that made me feel like the most important person in the world. Life was going well. I worked really hard and was tired all the time, but it was worth it. I never complained because I knew that I wanted the world for my boys. However, after Jack graduated from college, things started to slowly change. I realized that Jack wasn't just obsessed with cleanliness, he was also obsessed with money, and it was only getting worse. One day, while Jack was visiting his father, he overheard a conversation between his dad and one of his neighbors. He was praising Jack's father for his successful career as a salesman and high income. As Jack eavesdropped on the conversation, he couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Jack was impressed by his father's life of luxury. After that encounter, Jack became fixated on the idea that if I had stayed with his father, our family might have lived a more comfortable and privileged life. He started questioning why I had chosen to leave when there was so much wealth on the other side. He began resenting my decision and the financial struggles we had to face. But I couldn't go back to that life, not with a man who couldn't control his drinking. Jack's dad was a charmer. He could be really nice and likable to anyone who could be useful in his life. But to his own wife, he was still an abuser. I was really hurt that Jack didn't understand that. To me, it was more important to raise my children in a safe and loving environment than to have all the money in the world and then suffer in silence. Eventually, Jack decided to be independent and moved out. It wasn't easy for me, but I understood his need to spread his wings. Sometimes he would come home short on cash and take whatever money I had saved. Sam tried to stop him, but he was physically stronger. So, we didn't stand a chance. I was hurt and scared. I didn't want Jack to grow up and become his father. But at that point, I felt like there was not much I could do. Then one day, I got a surprising message from Jack. It was about his upcoming wedding, and my heart leaped with joy and pride. I couldn't believe my little boy was all grown up and ready to start a new chapter in his life. I felt a mixture of emotions, excitement, happiness, and a tinge of anxiety. But above all, I was overjoyed for him. Jack arranged a dinner with his fiancé's family. I was thrilled to meet the woman who had captured my son's heart. But then came the unexpected change of heart. Jack suddenly told me not to come to the dinner. He said it was better if I didn't attend and that he didn't want me to embarrass him. I was hurt and confused. I couldn't understand why he wouldn't want me to be a part of this special moment in his life. But I knew that being a parent meant respecting our children's choices, even when they didn't align with our desires. I tried to put on a brave face and convince myself that maybe it was for the best. In the following days, I kept myself busy with work, trying to distract my thoughts from dwelling on the situation. But still, something didn't sit right with me. I felt like it was unfair to me, and if I kept allowing Jack to behave this way, I was being a bad mother. I needed to get some boundaries and stand up for myself too. And so I called Jack up and told him how upset I was. I was honest and didn't hold anything back. I even brought up the fact that he was behaving like his dad. Unfortunately, that seemed to really strike a chord. Jack was so upset that he told me he would not even have me at his wedding. Jack, I need to talk to you. I'm really upset about what happened.
What's there to talk about?
Don't act like nothing happened. You told me not to come to meet your in-laws and it hurt.
Well, why are you bringing it up now? You were fine with it a few days ago.
That's not the point, Jack. I was happy for you and you shut me out.
Look, I just didn't want any drama at the meeting. It's going to be the first time I see them and they traveled from abroad to be here, so I didn't need you making a scene.
Making a scene? I just wanted to be there for you and you threw it in my face.
Mom, my in-laws are very wealthy, well-educated people. I don't want to let them down. I want to look good in front of them.
Is it what it's really about? My job? My education? Jack, I raised you. I deserve to be there.
Mom, let me tell you something. Dad's going to be there. Are you sure you want to see him after all these years?
What? Why would you invite your dad and not me?
Why not? He's better at talking and he's going to make a better impression.
God, Jack, how could you be so heartless? You're acting just like him sometimes.
That's not fair, Mom. I'm not Dad.
Why are you acting just like him then, using people and then kicking them out when you can't use them anymore?
Well, I don't need you meddling in my life anymore. I can handle things on my own. You know what? Maybe you shouldn't be coming to my wedding either.
Jack, I have always been there for you, but this is honestly horrible. You know you're making a mistake.
It's my wedding, Mom. I get to decide who's there.
Fine. If that's what you want, I won't come.
Good. It's better that way.
All right, Jack. I hope you have a beautiful wedding. Take care, son. After Jack hung up on me, a wave of emotions crashed over me. Hurt, anger, and disbelief all mixed together, making it hard to catch my breath. It felt like my heart was breaking into a million pieces. How could he say such a thing? How could he prefer his alcoholic dad, who had caused me so much pain, over me, his own mother? Tears welled up in my eyes as I tried to process what had just happened. I had sacrificed so much for him and his brother, hoping to give them a better life, and now, in a moment of anger, he had thrown it all back in my face? Just when I thought I had hit rock bottom, there was a surprise. The evening when Jack was supposed to meet up with his in-laws, he called me several times. On the phone, he sounded really urgent, asking me to come. However, I didn't know if I wanted to go anymore. I pressed on him, asking why he would invite me to the dinner now that it was all too late. He was on the verge of crying on the phone, begging me to come. I knew in my gut that something was wrong, and so I hung up and quickly went to my car. I was still in my factory clothes, but hearing the urgency in Jack's voice, I didn't even have the time to think about getting changed. As I drove towards the restaurant, my mind was flooded with worry. What could have happened to make Jack so desperate for me to be there? As I approached the restaurant, my heart pounded in my chest. I spotted Jack's car parked outside and a knot formed in my stomach. Taking a deep breath, I pushed open the restaurant doors, unsure of what I would find inside. The scene that greeted me was far from what I had expected. The air was thick with tension and embarrassment. There, in the middle of the restaurant, stood Jack's dad, looking flustered and disheveled. He reeked of alcohol, stumbling as he tried to regain his balance. I had hoped that Jack's dad had changed, but it was clear that he hadn't. He had been drunk before coming to the dinner, and his presence was now causing a scene, embarrassing Jack and his fiancée's family. Jack looked at me with pleading eyes, his expression a mix of anger and helplessness. My instincts as a mother kicked in, and without a second thought, I walked up to Jack's dad, trying to steady him. Come on, let's get you inside," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anger bubbling within me. He mumbled something incoherent, and as I guided him towards the exit, he suddenly started to retch. My heart sank, and I felt a surge of sympathy for Jack. How could his dad do this, especially on such an important day? Outside, I helped Jack's dad sit down on a nearby bench, and I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "You need to get yourself together. This is not the place or time for this behavior." He mumbled some more, barely coherent, and I sighed, feeling a mix of anger and pity for him. As much as I wanted to berate him for his actions, I knew it wouldn't do any good. He had his own demons to battle, and it wasn't my place to try and fix him. Inside the restaurant, the atmosphere had shifted from celebration to awkwardness. Jack's fiancée's family looked visibly uncomfortable, and I could see the disappointment in their eyes. I called a cab for my ex-husband and went inside. I had to be there for Jack. As soon as I went in, I noticed someone. Jack's soon-to-be father-in-law was someone I had known for a long time ago. It took a moment for the realization to sink in, but there was no mistaking that familiar face. "David?" He turned towards me, and a look of recognition crossed his face.
"Emily, is that really you?"
"Yes, it's me. I can't believe it's you. How long has it been?"
"It's been over 20 years, I think. I moved abroad with my family when we were in high school, remember?"
"I can't believe Jack's marrying your daughter. What a small world." Memories of our school days came flooding back, and I couldn't believe that fate had brought us back together in such a surprising way. I was still trying to wrap my head around the coincidence. Dave nodded.
Yes, life has a funny way of bringing people back together. I never thought I would see you again after all these years.
We have a lot to catch up on. It's been so long since we last saw each other. As the evening continued, David introduced me to his wife and daughter with the warmest smile. We found ourselves reminiscing about our school days and catching up on everything that had happened in our lives and since we had last seen each other. It was like no time had passed at all, and we fell easily into a comfortable atmosphere. David told me about his successful career abroad, and I shared the joys and challenges of raising my two sons as a single mother. Of course, my ex-husband came up in the conversation. I didn't explicitly talk about it, but both David and his wife could guess what had happened. Jack had painfully left me out of the dinner and only called me when he realized his dad didn't take it seriously. David's wife held my hands and expressed her sympathy for me, as Jack's fiancé gave me a concerned look. It seemed like it was becoming clear to them how materialistic and calculating Jack could be. A few days after the dinner, I received a call from Jack. His voice was tense as he spoke.
Mom, she broke up with me.
I could feel the pain in his voice and my heart sank. I'm sorry, Jack.
You know why this happened, right? It's because of what you did at the dinner. You played the victim in front of her father, and she couldn't handle it.
I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself against his blame. Jack, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. How is this my fault when your dad was the one who showed up drunk?
It doesn't matter. You always make everything about you. You can't just let me have my own life without interfering.
Jack, I love you and I want the best for you, but you're being unreasonable and completely ungrateful.
You're always causing problems. You ruined my chance at happiness, and I can't forgive you for that.
The tears streamed down my cheeks as I listened to his words. I had hoped that one day Jack would understand the sacrifices I had made as a mother, but it seemed that he was too consumed by his anger and resentment to see beyond his own pain, and just like that, Jack's supposedly fancy wedding became a disaster. They had to cancel everything last minute, and Jack lost a lot of money to the venue because they have already done half of the setup. Jack's ex-fiancée refused to talk to him, citing his and his dad's rude behaviors as the main reason. It seemed like she couldn't trust him anymore after witnessing his relationship with his own family. Jack wasn't dead and he turned to me for financial support, but I said no. I knew that I had spoiled him enough. I needed to put my foot down. Just like that, Jack lost his dad and his fiancée within a short period of time. I gave him the space he needed to figure out where he really did go wrong in life, and that was when Sam really stepped up. He approached his brother to offer the wisest pieces of advice. As months passed, Sam's words began to sink in, and Jack found himself reflecting on his relationship with me. He realized that he had been quick to judge and place blame, and that perhaps he had been too harsh in his judgment. He missed the family bond we once had, and he longed for the happiness that seemed to have slipped away. One evening, Jack approached me hesitantly, his eyes filled with a mix of emotions.
Oh, Mom, I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened, and I realize that I haven't been fair to you. I've been holding on to anger and resentment, and it's been clouding my judgment. I'm sorry.
I listened quietly, my heart swelling with hope. He continued,
I know I've made mistakes, and I'm sorry for the pain I've caused you. But I also know that you've always loved us and done your best for us. I want to try and rebuild our relationship if you're willing.
Tears welled up in my eyes, and I embraced my son tightly. That was everything I needed to hear. And just like that, the healing began. With Sam's unwavering support and understanding, our family slowly came back together. It wasn't an easy journey, but we learned to forgive each other and let go of the past. We realized that we were stronger together and that love had the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Our family became a source of comfort and joy once again, and we cherished the moments we spent together. I am Yana, and I have been married to my husband Ted for almost 20 years. Our first few years of marriage were full of bliss. It feels like the both of us were on cloud nine. I truly loved him, I do. He is responsible and has a great provider mindset. For me, marrying him was the best decision of my life. Although the arguments and fighting became significant catalysts of setbacks in our life, I am still grateful that we were able to surpass it all with a loving and robust heart. We have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. I couldn't ask for any more excellent gifts in life than my lovely children. They made me whole and they put meaning into my life. They mended and filled the gap between me and my husband when there were times that we would grow apart. We were a loving family and my life was perfect, or so I thought. As years passed by and our kids were growing, so did the hatred and boredom that we felt towards each other. The constant fights became prominent and more aggressive. My husband became so intentional with his banters and insults towards me. In short, our relationship became toxic. And that is when I realized that my life with Ted had never been a fairy tale. I was just so in denial that our relationship was falling apart because it was built on shaky and weak ground to begin with. I was making things up. That we are still happy because I'm too afraid to lose him and allow my children to grow up without their father by their side. And as I assess our relationship right now, the signs of downfall are there. From the beginning, our relationship showed signs of trouble, but I held on, hoping that love would conquer all. As the years passed, though, cracks started to appear and the love we once shared turned into bitterness and hurtful words. Aside from that, my husband began to share his remarks of discontentment, boredom, frustration, and disappointment. It seemed like he was trapped with me all this time, and he wanted to get out right away. His banters were more insults than sadness. He hates me so much. It feels like he was forced to stay in the relationship and was suffocating to be exact, the whole time. And with that, I endured Ted's hate and hurtful sentiment towards me. I did all I could to maintain a hint of normalcy for the sake of our children. They were all that matters to me, and I did not want to ruin their life. One night, as I prepared for bed, my husband came in with a frustrated aura. I was shocked that he came to our bedroom when it's been 2 years since we last slept together.
Yana, why are my laundry still not in my room?
He shouted, and it startled me. I'm so sorry, honey. I was gardening earlier because the harvest season is coming up. I will do the laundry tomorrow, I promise. He snarled.
Honey, could you stop calling me that pathetic name? Just bring my goddamn laundry in, or I will drag you out of this house.
His words felt like knives attacking me right through my heart. My tears were about to fall, but I controlled it. I'm so sorry. He rolled his eyes and shouted at me again.
You know what? I'm just so tired of this relationship. It feels like we are stuck in a never-ending cycle of the same problems, and I don't know if I can keep going like this. I'm so tired just looking at your goddamn face.
I took a deep breath as my tears finally fell on my cheeks. Ted, I understand things haven't been easy lately, but we can work together. Let's talk about what's bothering you. He just laughed at me in a mocking tone.
Talk? What good will that do? I don't remember you listening anyway. You're stupid. There is no point talking to you.
I do listen, Ted. I want to understand what's bothering you and find a way to improve things. We can't just put our relationship down the drain. That is unfair to our kids. He rolled his eyes again as if everything I said had no sense.
You're always trying to fix everything, but you never actually do anything about it. Oh, I forgot. You don't have to fix everything because you are the problem itself.
It hurts me to hear him say all of these hurtful words. I'm doing my best to make this relationship work, but it takes both of us to put in the effort.
Yeah, well, your best just isn't good enough.
Please, tell me what's making you so unhappy. I want to know so we can work on it together.
You wouldn't get it. You're too wrapped up in yourself to see how you're driving me away. And like what I have said, you're stupid. So what's the point anyway?
I love you, Ted, and I don't want to push you away. Could you help me understand what I'm doing wrong?
You're suffocating me with your constant neediness and demands. I need space, but you just don't get it.
I'll give you the space you need, Ted, but I can't ignore our problems either. We have to communicate and find a way to reconnect.
Reconnect? Is that some therapy mumbo jumbo? I'm sick of your constant analysis. As if you are helping.
I'm trying to understand your perspective, Ted. I don't want to lose you, but I can't do it alone.
Maybe I'm just tired of trying. Tired of this relationship. Tired of all your nonsense.
I can see you're frustrated, but saying hurtful things won't solve anything. My voice was starting to shake.
You know what? Maybe I'm just done with us. Perhaps it's time to move on.
Please, don't do this. Think about our children.
They're grown-ups now. Maybe I'll finally find someone who understands me.
Please, think about our children, Ted.
Yeah, whatever. Goodbye, Yana.
Don't say that. And then he left me alone. I cried the whole night. I cried as my heart swam into a river of pain. But one day, a few months after our heartbreaking encounter, he dropped the bombshell. He wanted a divorce to marry his young side chick, Annie. The pain was unbearable, but I kept my emotions in check, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing me break down.
It's over, Yana. I found the love of my life.
You cannot do this to us. This is unfair.
Well, you're no match for her. She is sexy, young, and very pretty. Annie is the perfect woman for me.
He left the house without trying to listen to any word from me again. Our children cried and were devastated as they witnessed our family falling apart. The next day, he sent in divorce papers with a note saying,
"Sign this paper, let me free. Being with you was like being in prison. I have been suffocating all my life. Please give me a break. I want out of your hell life."
Tears fell to my cheeks, and I could feel my heart aching as I witnessed my life's downfall. But before I could even sign the papers, my son showed me a picture of the mistress. It happened that she was my previous employee, and I technically fired her for being flirtatious around the office. I was so shocked at how the world could be this small. So I thought of a revenge plan. I sent back the divorce papers now signed to my husband. I know he wondered why I wasn't being hysterical about the divorce. I kept silent and calm throughout the entire process. Little did he know that I had already discovered the truth about Annie. I confronted her and she confessed that Ted had used her to make me jealous. For a brief moment, I believed her, clinging to the hope that Ted still cared for me in some twisted way. I was still hoping that our family would get back to normal, that our life would be switched back to what it used to be. I was even excited for him to reach out to me and make amends. And as fool as I am, I was ready to accept him back into our life with open arms. But the truth slowly unraveled before me. As I was cleaning my room, my gut urged me to open his computer. I found messages on our one messaging application. Many messages revealed Ted's affair with multiple women, not just Annie. Feeling betrayed and disgusted, I confronted Annie again, and she admitted to knowing about the other woman but had hoped Ted would choose her. You became one of my ex-husband's toys, and you will allow him to use you for what? For hurting me, a woman who's suffering? She sobbed and covered her face with her palms. He told me that he would break up with them, and I'm the one he loves. Everything that comes out from that man's mouth is either lies or insults, and you, girl, you have been completely fooled. She cried and cried until she looked up at me. He promised to me that we will go overseas and live our life as a married couple and that he will leave you and his children for good. He hated you. I hated him more. And you should hate him as well because he lied to you. He manipulated you into thinking that being a mistress is okay. You deserve more than that. She bursted into tears again, so I continued talking. Listen to me, Annie. You are a capable woman, and we both don't deserve that jerk, an asshole. Karma will find its way to him because he deserves to be punished for all the things that he did. Are you with me? She nodded in response. He will pay for this. I am so sorry for the pain that I have caused you. No, you were only a victim. This is all his fault. Let's make him pay. I smirked at her. Oh, darling, we will. In a strange twist of fate, Annie and I found solace in each other's pain. Instead of tearing each other down, we decided to team up and expose Ted for the manipulative liar he was. Together, we devised a plan to reveal his true colors to the world. When Ted confronted me about my seemingly calm reaction to the divorce, I couldn't help but smirk inwardly. With a glint of determination in my eyes, I told him, "Well, I know your lies." His audacity to even show his face in front of me is wild. I don't want to see him again. His baffled expression only fueled my resolve. He was so confused.
What do you mean?
I just laughed at him, making him wonder even more. Well, you chose to fight me, and I'm so sorry because I'm not a quitter nor a loser. You chose the wrong person, Ted. You will pay for everything. After that, I left him alone. He was dumbfounded. The divorce papers were still being processed. Together, Annie and I decided to expose his trash and dirty ways on social media around innocent girls that he was using. So we posted screenshots of his conversations with other women. The truth spread like wildfire, and soon enough, the web of lies Ted had spun began to crumble. Ted's life unraveled before everyone's eyes. Friends, family, and acquaintances saw his true nature, and the shame and humiliation he felt were palpable. He begged for forgiveness, claiming he had made a terrible mistake and still loved me, but I had seen through his lies, and the wounds he had inflicted on my heart were too deep to mend. I stood firm, my resolve unwavering as I faced the man who had once been my husband. I refused to let him manipulate my emotions again. He went to me and pleaded for his life, a side I never thought I would see. But I'm not the Yana he used to know. I am stronger now.
Yana, I'm so sorry for everything. Could you help me get my life back? Everyone I know is drifting away from me. I can't afford to lose you as well as our children.
You should have thought about that before you decided to leave us with your mistress. You have no shame, and this embarrassment serves you well. He kept on begging me to take down the online post.
I will do better. Please help me take it down. I'm so sorry. I'm begging you.
With a calm and composed demeanor, I looked him in the eyes and said, Ted, your tears and apologies won't change the past. The trust is broken, and I can't return to a life built on lies. His desperate attempts to win me back fueled my determination to move on. I deserved better than a man who treated me disrespectfully and disregardfully. I realized I didn't need his validation or love to be whole. His actions did not define my worth, and I had finally found the strength to stand on my own. As the truth about Ted's infidelity spread like wildfire on social media, his once charmed life began to crumble before everyone's eyes. The shame and humiliation he felt were palpable, and he was desperate to salvage what was left of his reputation. But this time, I wouldn't let him off the hook. And yet again, Ted sent me countless messages and calls and even showed up at my doorstep, tears streaming down his face as he begged for forgiveness. It just never stops. He claimed he had made a terrible mistake and still loved me. Part of me wanted to believe his words, to take him back and pretend that none of this had ever happened. But deep down, I knew I deserved better. I looked into his eyes, once filled with charm and charisma, and saw a man who had lost himself in a web of lies. He continued to beg, trying to manipulate my emotions, but I saw through his act. I had learned that his words were empty and his promises were meaningless. I had given him chances before, hoping he would change, but he had repeatedly proven that he was incapable of true love and commitment. As much as I once loved him, I had to put myself first and prioritize my well-being. I couldn't let him drag me down any longer. My heart ached. But I knew walking away was the only path to healing. His humiliation resulted from his actions, and I couldn't allow myself to feel sorry for him. He had caused me immeasurable pain, and now he had to face the consequences. It was time for him to confront the reality of his choices and the hurt he had inflicted not just on me, but also on our children. I focused on my healing, surrounded by a robust support system of friends and family who had lifted me when I needed it the most. I embraced my newfound independence and pursued my passions with a renewed sense of purpose. My children witnessed my strength and courage, learning invaluable lessons about resilience, forgiveness, and the importance of self-love. My decision to leave a toxic relationship and rebuild my life on my terms became an enduring legacy for my family, and so my story became one of triumph over adversity, of finding strength amid heartbreak, and of emerging from the darkness with a newfound light. Ted's action had caused pain, but my resilience turned that pain into a catalyst for growth and transformation. I proved that the most satisfying revenge isn't about inflicting pain on others, but rising above the hurt and becoming a better version of oneself. As the days passed, I focused on rebuilding my life and rediscovering my worth. I surrounded myself with supportive friends and family who reminded me of my strength and resilience. Slowly, the pain started to fade, and I began to find happiness within myself, independent of any relationship. Seeing me move forward and thrive without him only intensified Ted's shame. He had lost control over me, and it was clear that he could no longer manipulate me as he once had. The power dynamic had shifted, and I was now in charge of my life. Realizing that he had lost his wife and reputation weighed heavily on him. The embarrassment of his actions followed him wherever he went, a constant reminder of the consequences of his betrayal. As much as I wanted to see him suffer, I chose not to dwell on his misery. Instead, I channeled my energy into creating a fulfilling life for myself and my children. I focused on my passions, career, and what brought me joy. In time, Ted's presence in my life became a distant memory. I had found closure in knowing that I had stood firm in the face of adversity and had refused to let his actions define me. I had turned the tables on him, and in doing so, I had found my empowerment. My story became one of triumph over heartbreak, of finding inner strength, and of discovering the beauty of self-love. I learned that actual revenge isn't about seeking to humiliate others, but about rising above the pain and becoming a stronger person. And as I moved forward, I knew I was no longer defined by the hurt Ted had caused me. I was Yana, a woman who had weathered the storm and emerged more vital than ever, ready to embrace whatever life had in store for me.
Is this some sick joke, Joseph? How could you do this to your own wife? This is childish, Emily. Why did you have to involve my parents? Couldn't you handle it like adults? The car crash should have ended you.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Emily, and I'm in my early 30s. I am happily married to Joseph. At least I was happily married to him. Just a few months ago, my world seemed perfect, but like all good stories, my life was destined for a twist. As fate would have it, my husband Joseph had entrusted me with the simple task of running an errand.
Hey, can you do me a favor? I need you to pick up something for me while you're out. Take the key for my car.
I wasn't particularly fazed about doing an errand for him. It had become a familiar scenario in our relationship. Joseph often relied on me to handle various tasks, whether it was paying the bills, buying groceries, or running errands, always claiming exhaustion from work as his excuse. It's funny because he's not the only one with work and he would not share the errands with me.
It's our anniversary tomorrow, and I thought it would be nice to surprise you with something special. Consider it a belated anniversary gift for all those years when I never got you anything.
I couldn't believe my ears. Joseph rarely gave gifts. He would always joke that the fact that he still stayed with me was his gift. This gesture caught me off guard and excitement bubbled within me as I imagined what the surprise might be. Could it be the piece of jewelry I had been eyeing, or perhaps a heartfelt keepsake that symbolized our love? Regardless of what it was, the fact that Joseph went out of his way to plan something special touched me deeply. I was a bit afraid he wasn't going to change anymore and would keep giving me the bare minimum throughout the course of our relationship. I pushed those thoughts aside and focused on the task at hand. As I took his key and settled into his car, I couldn't help but admire the sleek and polished exterior. Joseph's car was his pride and joy, meticulously cared for and always sparkling clean. The leather seats hugged my body comfortably as I adjusted the mirrors and fastened my seatbelt. As I started the engine and pulled out onto the road, I got to experience the car in a new way, paying extra attention to every detail, including the feel and the sound of the brakes. I couldn't help but wonder if the brakes were supposed to be this way, given the limited experience I have with driving Joseph's car. As I pressed down the brake pedal, a peculiar sensation washed over me. It wasn't the reassuring resistance I had come to expect from the brakes. Instead, there was a slight sponginess, raising doubt in my mind. I questioned whether this was how the brakes were intended to feel and whether everything was as it should be. Listening closely, I strained my ear to catch any unusual sounds. Was that a faint squeak I heard, or was just my imagination playing tricks on me? I couldn't shake off the feeling that there might be something wrong with the car. Driven by my instincts, I decided to investigate further to ensure my safety. I called Joseph to voice out my concerns. Hey Joseph, I'm on my way to pick up the gift, but I have this feeling that something might be off with the car. The brakes feel a bit strange, and I'm not sure if everything's alright.
Oh, come on, Emily. You're just being overly cautious. Trust me, I take care of my car better than I take care of myself. Do you think I would actually miss a day of maintenance? Besides, it's a powerful machine, and it likes to be driven a bit wild. Going slow might be more dangerous. Don't worry about it.
I wanted to believe Joseph. After all, he had more knowledge about cars than I did, and his dismissive tone made me second-guess my concerns. I decided to follow his advice and put my faith in him, pushing aside my initial doubts. As I pressed on, my anxiety grew with every mile. The sound of the brakes continued to nag me, each scream and squeal of it. Joseph's words echoed in my mind, urging me to drive faster to drown out the disconcerting noise. Reluctantly, I followed his advice, hoping the speed would distract me from the growing unease. But fate had a different plan in store. As I approached a busy intersection, my heart froze in my chest. The traffic light ahead turned red, forcing me to apply the brakes. With a surge of panic, I pressed my foot down, but to my horror, the pedals sank to the floor. The brakes had failed. Time seemed to slow. Horns blared and tires screeched. My hands gripped the steering wheel, my mind racing to find a solution. Desperate to avoid colliding with the vehicles ahead, I veered to the side, narrowly dodging a catastrophic collision. The screeching of metal and the shattering of glass filled the air as I careened off the road, finally coming to a stop with a jolt. The impact left me disoriented and shaken, my body aching from the force of the crash. Amidst the adrenaline pumping through my veins, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. I was alive. With trembling fingers, I reached for my phone and dialed Joseph's number, my voice quivering as I recounted the horrifying accident I had just been in. Joseph, there's been an accident. The brakes failed and I barely avoided a major collision. I'm scared, Joseph. I'm okay, but the car, it's a wreck. I don't know what to do.
Emily, where are you? I'll come right away.
My heart skipped a beat when I heard a subtle annoyance in his voice, as if my survival had inconvenienced him in some way. I guess he's just that of a busy man. As he rushed to the scene of the accident, his priorities seemed askew. Instead of immediately checking on my well-being, he instinctively dug pieces of the dashcam and retrieved the SD card from it. He is such a practical man, since we will need to file an insurance claim anyway. At least we'll get something out of this traumatizing accident. In the days that followed, as I recuperated from my injuries and pieced together the events of that day, I couldn't help but be consumed by so many questions. Joseph, where's the SD card from your car's dashcam? I want to watch the footage of the accident.
That will just distress you further. Reliving the accident might be too traumatic, so it's best you don't watch it, and besides, watching it won't change what happened. Let's just move forward instead of dwelling on the past.
Despite his protests, I couldn't let go of my curiosity. One night, as Joseph fell into a deep slumber, I sneakily opened his laptop, skimming through files and searching for the exact moment when the brakes failed. The cursor hovered over countless mundane clips of everyday drives, conversation, and innocent moments. I clicked on a random video, hoping that it will be the right one. Tears started to well up in my eyes immediately. I wish we could be together all the time without any restrictions.
I know, babe, but we have to be careful. We don't want anyone to find out about us.
When can we see each other again after this? I'll miss your touch.
Soon, my love. We'll find a way. Just know that you mean everything to me.
A sound of a soft kiss followed their words, echoing through the car speakers and piercing my soul. A mix of anger, betrayal, and heartache swirled within me. How could Joseph have done this to me? How long had the affair been going on? Is that why he wouldn't let me use his car, because it's for his other lover? Gosh, I think this hurts even more than the car accident I was recently in. I dialed the number of Joseph's parents, desperate for their support and guidance. That very night, I sat in our living room with his parents by my side. The laptop was open before them, ready to expose the painful truth. As the video played, the room filled with tension and the air grew heavy with disappointment. Are you sure that's not your voice? I can't believe he was capable of doing such a thing. I raised him to be better than this.
I think she would be aware of her own voice. I'm sorry that this happened to you, Emily. Alright, that's it.
My father-in-law stomped into Joseph's room. Filled with disappointment, he unleashed a torrent of scoldings and reprimands.
Is this some sick joke, Joseph? How could you do this to your own wife?
Joseph's face has been contorted with confusion as being woken up from his sleep. He lashed out at me regardless, accusing me of being a tattletale for bringing his parents into personal matters.
What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. We saw footages from your car's dashcam. You are having an affair. I'm so disappointed in you. Your mother and I solved every problem that came our way so you wouldn't have a broken family. And then you go ahead and start one? This is childish, Emily. Why did you have to involve my parents? Couldn't you handle it like adults? The car crash should have ended you.
It was all too chaotic for me and I couldn't do anything but freeze on spot.
If you can't honor the commitment you made to Emily or at least respect her as a human being, then you don't deserve the car we have given you as a wedding gift. We're taking it back and we're not getting you a new one.
With desperation in his eyes, Joseph snatched the laptop from the table and rushed to his room, determined to get rid of the evidence. The sound of their pleas fell on deaf ears as he barricaded himself away, frantically attempting to send the car crash footage to the insurance company before he deletes all files. Joseph's parents and I exchanged helpless glances. The reality of the shattered trust hung heavy in the air. In that moment, the decision was made. I knew I couldn't continue a life built on lies and betrayal. He accuses me of being childish, but what about him? He's literally hiding inside his room like a kid, deleting his search history from his parents. I want a divorce. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the distant sound of Joseph's frantic movements in his room. Joseph's parents, still reeling from the shock of their son's actions, nodded in agreement. There was a silent understanding that the situation's now over. Joseph still stayed inside his room. His parents went home, and I stayed with my parents' place temporarily. In the days that followed, while I was trying to rebuild my life after that devastating betrayal, I found myself having a seemingly normal day. As I went about my routine, a notification suddenly dinged on my phone. I unlocked my phone and read the unexpected message.
Dear Mr. Joseph, this is to acknowledge receipt of the evidence you submitted regarding the incident involving your vehicle and the subsequent insurance claim. We take this matter very seriously and assure you that a thorough examination of the evidence will be conducted.
Oh, I had forgotten that Joseph's email was still logged in on my phone when he had borrowed it some time ago. In an impulsive move, I opened his sent emails to watch the footage he sent to the insurance company. After all, I'm still curious about the car crash footage Joseph refused to show me.
Can you believe it? When this pushes through, we'll not only get rich with the insurance money, but finally be free to be together.
Are you sure this is going to work? What if she refuses to pick the gift up?
Are you kidding me? That woman is desperate from any ounce of affection. She would probably scream with glee, as if I would actually spend a penny on her. If I would give anyone a grand anniversary gift, it would be for you, my darling.
I can't wait, Joseph. It's about time we make our dreams a reality. It's about time to get rid of that trash. My emotions ran wild. Not only did I watch how Joseph and his affair plotted the intentional crash for insurance money, it was also a calculated act to end my life. It was a chilling realization of Joseph's intention. I can't even recognize the man I married anymore. What happened to him? Who is he? Without wasting a second, I reached for my phone and immediately dialed my lawyer's number. No matter what happens, I'll make sure to hold Joseph accountable for his actions. As the call connected, I took a deep breath, shared the evidence I had uncovered, and made it clear that I wanted to press charges for attempted murder against Joseph. My lawyer was equally taken aback by the disturbing revelations and assured me that we would proceed with the necessary legal actions. Together, we meticulously prepared the case, gathering evidence and building a strong argument to build a solid case. In the following days, as the legal proceedings against Joseph for attempted murder went through, filing a formal complaint for attempted murder. News also reached to me how the insurance company had caught wind of Joseph's fraudulent activities and had taken legal action against him for insurance fraud. I didn't even have to intervene or tell on him to the company. It's the consequences of his actions, simply closing in on him from all sides. his parents refused to provide any financial support for his legal defense, he was left without resources or a safety net, as his parents also severed familial ties that Joseph had taken for granted. He had become a man stripped of his wealth, his marriage, his parents' support, and his freedom, with no license to drive his misfortune away. The thought that the person I once loved had planned to end my life for personal gain was a bitter pill to swallow. But ironically, the accident saved my life because I have been given a second chance in life without the compensation of such a wicked man. It was a bumpy ride, but karma took the driver's seat to steer me towards the justice I deserve. I shut down my laptop and stretched my body. It's been 6 hours since I immersed myself in work. I am working remotely this month, and most of the time, I'll be staying at home with my family, my husband, and kids. I rested for a few minutes and took a moment to think about my life. Since I was young, I always wanted to make a name and live independently. At a very young age, I made my way out of the gutters of poverty. I worked hard and I was able to support my needs, especially my studies during my college years. And I did it. From scratch, I was able to build myself, launch a business, and met the love of my life. I am beyond grateful to meet my husband, as he gave me meaning to my life by loving me unconditionally and giving me 3 kids that are beyond beautiful. Everything in my life and career was in place. I have a supportive family and a booming business. However, I never imagined that my life would become a battleground where tradition clashed with independence since I married my husband. Don't get me wrong, this miserable notion is not because of my husband Leo, but his mother, my mother-in-law Greta. My name is Nicole, and I refuse to conform to the role of a subservient daughter-in-law. And I never knew that being independent would affect me so much. My mental health, and even upholding my right and performing my responsibilities to my own family. The day that my husband and I wed, I was surprised when he told me that his mother will be living with us. I knew that he had the personality of a mama's boy, but not to the point that his mother will be with us, overseeing his moves all the time. I could remember during our reception when my husband told me about it.
My love, I have something to tell you, and I guess you will like it.
He smiled at me and my heart skipped a beat. I was anticipating what he was going to reveal to me. What is it, my love? My voice is full of excitement.
My mother is going to live with us.
My smile dropped as soon as I heard it. I mean, I appreciate his mother, but to live with us? That is just crossing the boundary. What do you mean? I asked him. My voice was full of confusion.
Mother will be living with us for good. Isn't that great? She will be able to help us in running things around the house, especially when we work. With my mother around, household chores will be easier, and she can help us with decision making. You know that my mommy knows best, right?
I heaved a sigh. This cannot be it. We won't have our autonomy inside the house. I know how controlling Leo's mother can be, and I could tell that she's quite infamous for it. She even talked to me harshly when we were still girlfriend and boyfriend. She would tell me that she hates me because I'm too independent and that I would overpower my husband someday and I would hurt his ego. I don't understand her point. Wouldn't she be happy that I will be helping her son with financial matters someday? So during that moment, I was so confused about having her with us inside the house. I'm sorry, my love, I don't get it. What context you didn't get, Nicole? My eyes widened as I saw my mother-in-law standing beside my husband. She held her son's arms and caressed them. She also whispered to him. My brows frowned at what they were talking about. This is my wedding day and it is supposed to be happy and special, but my mother-in-law is ruining it. I saw Leo nodding at her with panic in his eyes, and he looked at me again.
Mommy thinks you hate her, love.
My jaw dropped. What is happening here? I never said that. I just don't understand why we have to decide this thing today out of all the days. And we plan to move out immediately so that we can finally start as a family together. My mother-in-law faked a sob. So, clearly you don't like me living with you? My husband panicked and immediately hugged her. And I was just right there standing in front of them dumbfounded. She's a manipulator. So I heaved a sigh and just nodded. Alright, I'm fine with it, I'm sorry. I leave them there. I feel so upset and down during my wedding day and even during our honeymoon at a 5-star hotel. She insisted on booking a room next to ours. This is completely fucking insane. And 5 years later, I am still stuck with her. From the day of our wedding, Greta made it clear that I fell far short of her expectations. I was not the docile, stay-at-home wife she had envisioned for her son Leo. Living under her roof became a nightmare as she exerted control over every aspect of our lives. Greta's need for power overshadowed any semblance of harmony within our home. It is clear to everyone that I ran my own successful business and managed our family's finances with confidence and expertise. However, my fierce independence was met with disdain by Greta. She always pinpoints that a wife must obey her husband and must stay at home, but I'm the complete opposite. I would travel around the country for business trips, and whenever I am at home, I would be working on my laptop. But it doesn't mean that I am slacking on my responsibilities as a mother and wife, because I was still able to manage everything properly. But Greta kept on insisting that I must shut down my business. She's such a controller and manipulator. She wants everything that she wants to be followed. I have worked all my life to get there, and she cannot just take it away from me. Sometimes my husband would side with his mother, but it is clear that he was only doing it to stop a potential fight between us. And most of the time, he understands me. He listens to me and would give me advice. But I would say that his advice is rather neutral. He has a diplomatic personality, and that is what I like about him. We have so many things in common, even the food that we are allergic to. Black pepper, we hate it very much. I am just so lucky to have a husband as understanding as Leo, but I wish he would step up more and make things straight inside the house. But as the years went by, I learned how to live with her. I learned how to control everything that she does and makes inside the house. I learned how to endure all her mistreatments and insulting side comments. I gave her all the freedom that she wants because I don't have time to fight with her. It would just cause a major rift and a big gap between us, and I'm not completely ready for that. Words like entitled, bitch, selfish, and self-serving loser became normal to me because these are the words that she always says to me. I couldn't deny that she hates me to the bones, and her manipulation extended beyond emotional torment. She rules over the house, especially in serving my husband and kids. She wielded her influence most deviously in the kitchen, where she assumed control of meal preparation. Little did I know that Greta had a sinister plan brewing beneath her nurturing facade. I have noticed that every time Greta cooks, especially when she's angry with me, I feel uneasy. It feels like my stomach would twist and my allergies increase every time I eat the food she cooks. And the weird part is, I'm the only one who feels it. The rest of the family seems to be normal. And I knew that the pain is intended for me alone. My stomach would feel pain as if someone is squeezing it inside. My arms and thighs would have itchy red spots, and sometimes it could cause me a heaviness in breathing. I made sure that we don't have all the foods or ingredients that could cause or trigger our allergies, especially black pepper. So I could not blame the ingredients, but these symptoms can only be visible once I ate an allergen. We made it very clear inside the household that allergy-inducing foods must not be mixed with the food we ate because it is a major health hazard. I talked to my husband about this, but he couldn't tell whether it is caused by the allergen, but it is very obvious. I don't want to drop names and accuse someone without evidence, but I know that this has something to do with my mother-in-law's hatred and grudge towards me. And I was right. It wasn't long before I connected the dots. The unbearable stomach aches and bouts of vomiting that plagued me after every meal were not mere coincidences. I discovered the truth. It was a normal afternoon, and it's been a while since I felt awful with the food I ate. I was working remotely and felt hungry, so I thought of cooking something for me and for the kids as well, a little snack. I was glad that my mother-in-law was not in the kitchen and I could finally have full control of the room. I checked the pantry for something to eat and I saw something, a suspicious small jar. I opened it and by the smell of it I coughed. My eyes widened as I realized the scent. It is black pepper! I closed it immediately and put it away from me. I knew something was not right. I'm pretty sure the black pepper has been sprinkled onto my food many times and is only intended for me to poison me. My mother-in-law was the only one who has access to the pantry, and she made sure that I shouldn't get inside because I am too busy for cooking and you can't cook because you're not even a mother and wife material. And now that I'm inside, I was so shocked that she had been hiding black pepper inside. So this means that she's the one to blame? She has the main access to the pantry only. My eyes widened in fear and shock as I tried to process everything. My mother-in-law had been secretly poisoning me all this time. She intentionally added copious amounts of black pepper to my dishes, knowing all too well that both Leo and I were highly allergic to it. The one rule she was fully aware of was to never include black pepper in our food. I couldn't let Greta's treachery go unnoticed any longer. Determined to expose her, I began meticulously documenting her actions. I endured the pain and suffering, gathering evidence to unveil her true nature. So the next day, I secretly installed a hidden camera, and every time she would prepare dinner, it would record her. I must have caught her in the act, and it has to be now while I'm still working at home. And one fateful day, as I was checking my emails, I heard that she wanted to cook dinner, so I reviewed the camera's footage, and I caught her in the act. I saw her preparing the food on separate plates, and only one plate was sprinkled with black pepper, and it must be mine. And she did it so great because every time I eat, I would never realize that there's black pepper in it. The revelation was like a bolt of lightning striking through my veins. The disgust and anger welled up inside me as I confronted her, my voice laced with a mixture of fury and disbelief. I immediately went down to the kitchen and I saw her innocently preparing the food, and I confronted her immediately. "Greta, I have had enough of your games. What did you just put on my plate?" I talked to her in a tone that she never heard before, and she was shocked that I was too bold. She turns towards me, feigning innocence, and her face is full of false concern. "What are you talking about, dear? I didn't put anything on your plate." I was so shocked when I saw her concerned face. Why is she acting up? So I looked around, and there I saw my husband coming in from the front door. So she's going to play the victim now, huh? My frustrations boil over and my voice trembles with anger. "Don't lie to me, Greta. I know what you have been doing. You have been poisoning me, adding black pepper to my food, even though you know I'm allergic. How could you be so cruel?" She was so shocked by my accusations, her expression quickly shifted from innocent to defensive. I intentionally shouted so that my husband could hear it, and to let him know what his mother is doing. "Oh, please, don't be so melodramatic, Nicole. I would never do such a thing. You're just trying to make me the villain in this situation." I slammed my hands on the counter, my eyes burning with intensity. She pretended to be shocked as I saw my husband move towards us, and then she fakes a cry. "Oh, please, here we go again." "Enough, Greta. I have proof. I have been documenting every single time you have tampered with my food. This ends now." My husband stood beside me, completely confused.
"What is going on here?"
Your mother is trying to. Nothing, son. Are you tired? You can rest upstairs. I'll call you when the food is ready. Greta tried to divert my husband's attention to her and instructed him to take a rest. So, as a mama's boy, my husband followed her orders. That was my chance to expose the truth. As soon as my husband was out of the picture, my mother in law's attempt at playing the victim infuriates me even more. So I walked in front of her, but not a single hint of guilt was found on her face. She even smirked at me. I trusted you, Greta. I thought you were family, but you have been intentionally harming me, trying to break me down. Well, I won't let you win. I won't let you twisted games destroy me. I have evidence. Greta tries to maintain her composure, but it starts to crack when I point to the hidden camera, which is not completely hidden from her anymore. The panic in her eyes started to grow. You're being ridiculous, Nicole. I would never hurt my own son's wife. We're a family. You're just making up stories to drive a wedge between us. My eyes blazed with a mixture of anger and sadness. Look at that, Greta. I have recorded everything. It's all right there. Your betrayal, your manipulation, you can't deny it any longer. Greta's eyes flicker with panic as she realizes her game is up. She stumbles for words, her voice trembling, but she picked up her pace once again. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was just a way to assert control, to remind you of your place. Well, Greta, your games end here. I won't let you hurt me or my husband any longer. You will face the consequences of your actions. But Greta smirked and even chuckled, unbothered by everything. Really? So are you going to tell your husband my son? Will he believe you? I am his mother. He will listen to me and will obey me. Keep that in your mind. We'll see. I said it in a very strong tone. I stormed out of the kitchen, leaving Greta behind. The weight of the truth hung heavily in the air. Greta, now exposed, was left to confront the consequences of her malicious actions. But this time, fate took a twisted turn. We proceeded to have dinner as if nothing happened. My family was so oblivious to the argument that transpired earlier. I was so hesitant to take the food, but I took an anti-allergy tablet before, so that whatever she puts in there won't hurt and affect me. Because I want to be strong, I will expose her right now. But my husband started to cough and shouted that his tummy hurts. I quickly responded to him and I checked his food. There are black pepper in here. And then I realized in my mother-in-law's panic earlier, she mistakenly switched our plates and Leo unknowingly consumed the poisoned meal. Her plan backfired. As Leo's life hung in the balance, a fire ignited within me, a relentless thirst for justice. At that moment, revenge consumed my thoughts. Greta's actions had shattered our trust and endangered the life of the man I loved. She would pay for her betrayal. I called an ambulance immediately and Greta was so shocked that she even cried, realizing her fault. The medical team rescued him immediately and took Leo straight to the hospital's emergency room. While Leo was fighting for his life in the hospital, I unveiled the evidence I had gathered to him and the medical staff. The shock in their eyes mirrored my own as the truth spilled forth. Greta's mask slipped, revealing her true nature to the world. The doctors explained the consequences and the issues it would cause to our health, and it turns out that my mother-in-law doesn't only put pepper in his food, but also poison that was meant for me. All this time she was planning to poison me, and the day that she orchestrated it, it backfired on her and my husband was the one who got caught on the bait she severely planned. So the authorities got her. Greta's arrest marked the beginning of her downfall, but it wasn't enough to quench the thirst for vengeance burning within me. I knew that to truly break her, I had to dismantle the empire she had built. With Leo's unwavering support and my newfound strength, I meticulously unraveled Greta's web of deceit. The wounds from Greta's betrayal ran deep, but they fueled our determination to rebuild our lives. My own family, I never got the chance to decide for them and live with them. Together we forged a path based on trust, respect, and resilience. We surrounded ourselves with a supportive network of people who uplifted us and helped us heal from the scars of the past. As we emerged from the darkness, I couldn't help but reflect on the power of resilience and the strength that lies within us all. Greta's actions had threatened to break us, but instead, they ignited a fire within our soul, a fire that propelled us forward, stronger than ever before. Our journey wasn't just about seeking revenge, it was about reclaiming our identities, reclaiming our voices. We refused to be defined by the pain inflicted upon us. Instead, we embraced our newfound freedom, embracing the opportunity to live life on our terms. In the wake of Greta's downfall, I realized that true victory was not in seeking revenge, but in finding inner peace and forgiveness. The weight of carrying hatred and bitterness only holds us back, so I made a conscious choice to let go, to release the shackles of anger that bound me. As time went on, we found happiness and fulfillment in the simplest of moments. Our love grew deeper, our bond unbreakable. We built a life filled with laughter, joy, and a renewed sense of purpose. We became a beacon of hope, proof that love and resilience can triumph over even the darkest of betrayals. And so, our story stands as a testament to the power of the human spirit, a reminder that in the face of adversity, we can rise above, transform pain into strength, and find redemption in the most unexpected of places. Though scarred, we emerge from the shadows as victors, forever resilient and forever free.